This book was classified by the CIA. Its author seemingly scrubbed from history and the internet. This book predicted the end of the world. I'm David Thrussell, and this is the Forbidden Book Club. We take civilization for granted. The complex infrastructure of cities, the consumer society, the power grid, and the internet are all relatively modern developments. We rely upon them for convenience, security, and the basic necessities of our lives. But what if, one day, it was all gone? Our culture has romanticized the apocalypse. Buff, bronzed road warriors wandering the wastelands, battling for resources and supremacy. But the truth is, the apocalypse, if it came, would be very ugly, and very few people would survive.
With a rumble so low as to be inaudible, growing, throbbing, then fuming into a thundering roar, the earthquake starts. Only it's not like any earthquake in recorded history. In California, the mountains shake like ferns in a breeze. The mighty Pacific rears back and piles up into a mountain of water more than 2 miles high, then starts its race eastward. With the force of 1,000 armies, the wind attacks, ripping, shredding everything in its supersonic bombardment. The unbelievable mountain of Pacific seawater follows the wind eastward, burying Los Angeles and San Francisco as if they were but grains of sand. Nothing, but nothing, stops the relentless, overwhelming onslaught of wind and ocean.
Apocalyptic visions and apocalyptic books are nothing new. What sets the Adam and Eve story apart is its history and its author.
Life, as we know it, is much more plausible than we were led to believe up to now on any planet, as long as it's rotating, no matter what the size of that planet.
Born in 1920 and graduating with a degree in electrical engineering from Columbia University in 1943, Chauncey Powers Thomas was a scientist, seismologist, and cataclysmologist who led an incredible life. During the 1950s, he worked on sensitive, high-level defense projects for the Bell Aircraft and Douglas Aircraft companies, including missile guidance and intercept technologies. In the 1960s, Chan Thomas moved to the Advanced Concepts Division at McDonnell Douglas, where he was involved in secret UFO technology research and anti-gravity work. In 1963, Thomas self-published his book, The Adam and Eve Story. The crux of Chan's theory was the concept of a rapid and cataclysmic pole or continental shift leading to apocalyptic destruction.
In a quarter to a half a day, the poles move almost to the equator, and all hell lets loose. The atmosphere and oceans don't shift with the shell. They just keep on rotating west to east. And at the equator, that speed is 1,000 miles per hour. So, while the shell shifts with the poles going toward the equator, the winds and oceans go eastward, blowing across the face of the Earth with supersonic speeds, inundating continents with water miles deep.
With this catastrophic pole shift comes an incredible deep freeze as the temperature drops by as much as 140 degrees in perhaps as little as 2 hours. It's known as the Berezovka mammoth. Discovered in Siberia in the year 1900, this mammoth was reportedly flash frozen with fresh buttercups still in its mouth. More recently, just north of Fairbanks, Alaska, gold miner John Reeves found hundreds of thousands of mammoth bones, lion bones, tiger bones, and even perhaps camel bones, frozen deep within the permafrost, all recovered within just a couple of acres. He named his site Boneyard, Alaska. Conventional science struggles to explain this catastrophic mass graveyard. But according to Chan Thomas,
across the continent, the 1,000-mile-per-hour wind wreaks its unholy vengeance everywhere, mercilessly, unceasingly. Every living thing is ripped into shreds while being blown across the countryside. Within 3 hours, the fantastic wall of water moves across the continent, burying the wind-ravaged land under 2 miles of seething water.
Thomas proposed a cycle of planet-wide destruction every 5 to 10,000 years, a cosmic cleaning of the slate, and he's not the only one.
Once more, the Earth has shifted its 60-mile thick shell, with the poles moving almost to the equator in a fraction of a day. Again, the atmosphere and oceans, refusing to change direction with the Earth's shell, have wiped out almost all life.
Chan Thomas proposed that the cause of this cycle of destruction was changes in the Earth's geomagnetic structure, wrought by our planet passing through magnetic null voids in the Milky Way. He also predicted that we might be headed through another null void around about now. The Adam and Eve story appears to have been classified by the CIA around 1966 and declassified in 2013. Today, you can read it on the CIA's website. Officially, the agency will not comment on why the book was classified or on any related issues. We cannot be sure of the circumstances. Was it seized as part of an investigation or a background check? Was it because of the contents and the panic that they might cause? Or was it because of the connections, the history, and the stature of its author?
I'm a scientist. I've been involved in the field of cataclysmic geology for about 15 years.
Chan Thomas was no average anonymous scientist. He worked on sensitive, highly classified government projects and had powerful, even frightening friends. One edition of the book was warmly dedicated to Admiral Rufus Taylor, General Curtis LeMay, and the US Joint Chiefs of Staff. In 1963, these were serious heavy hitters, and they were Chan's supporters and sponsors. Indeed, Admiral Rufus Taylor was Director of Naval Intelligence, Deputy Director of the ultra-secret DIA and Deputy Director of the CIA during the 1960s. General Curtis LeMay has long been rumoured to have been a cog in the November 22nd, 1963 assassination of President John F. Kennedy. LeMay's warlike reputation was also satirised as General Jack D. Ripper in Stanley Kubrick's Cold War classic, Dr. Strangelove. With friends like these, it is curious that Chan Thomas has almost vanished to history. It is known that he gave numerous public lectures about his cataclysmic theories, even appearing on The Johnny Carson Show in April 1965. Mysteriously, these television appearances and almost all other traces of Chan Thomas have disappeared. Chan Thomas was a polymath and a remarkable, out-of-the-box thinker. His theories unconventional and controversial. In early 1969, he wrote a secret memorandum for McDonnell Douglas about using subquantum particles and ESP for military and space communications. He also wrote about ESP and about cancer, and yet today he has essentially vanished from the historical record. We reached out to his family, but they declined to make public comment.
A cataclysm accomplishes many things. It stops unbridled and irresponsible reproduction, being the best population regulator known. It stops the worldwide pollution of our planet and provides for the restoration of pure water in lakes, rivers, and oceans. And it stops man's process of dehumanizing himself with narcotics, mass crime, and terrible authority. And, above all, it gives mankind a chance to start over once more, and this time do it right, without intellectual or spiritual imprisonments.
Meanwhile, billionaires build Armageddon-proof bunkers around the globe. Do they know something we don't? Or are they also just suffering from apocalypse fever? Why was the Adam and Eve story classified for almost 50 years? And what secrets are yet to be revealed about its mysterious author, Chauncey Powers Thomas? Banned, censored, suppressed, forgotten. These are the words of heretics, eccentrics, and visionaries. Expand your mind, broaden your horizons. Join us next time in the Forbidden Book Club.